Hello, I'm Dr. Phil Busey, and I will present for identification the first set of 11 Florida native plant species. These are the 11 species that students of Miami-Dade College Kendall campus native plant identification class observed on the first day of class. They are in alphabetical order by scientific names. However, because there are 5 members of the palm family, the Araceae, that should be compared with one another, I will reserve those for the end. The first species is the Bursera Simarouba, gumbo limbo. Before I continue with this tree, I want to mention that there are 2 kinds of names. The first kind of name that we'll frequently use is a scientific name, which is a Latinized binomial, consisting in all cases of a single genus name, which is always capitalized, and a single species name, which is always lowercase. The second kind of plant name that we will often use is the English common name, the gumbo limbo. And this does not follow strict conventions of nomenclature. The Bursera Simarouba gumbo limbo is a stout-trunked tree. It has a reddish bark, which is often lustrous and may be reddish in color and peels. It is sometimes called the tourist tree. Bursera Simarouba has leaves that are arranged alternate on the stem, and they are subdivided into leaflets, so it is considered pinnate or compound. There is a gumbo limbo tree growing in the parking lot of Miami-Dade College Kendall campus. Next species is Chrysobalanus icaco, cocoplum. This is a medium to large shrub. It has shiny leaves. They tend to be ovate or rounded at the tips. And it is fairly restrained. It can form a dense hedge. Chrysobalanus icaco often has reddish young leaf tips. The fruits can be purple or white, and they are reportedly edible. Next species is Lysiloma latisiliquum, for which the English common name is wild tamarind. It forms a medium to large tree and is frequently grown in South Florida, as well as occurring in native areas. The Lysiloma latisiliquum has a smooth bark, which is gray. The leaves of this species are bipinnate, which means they are compound twice. Let us see that in detail. Here I've isolated an individual leaf. It consists of 4 pairs of pinnae, which would be the primary subdivision of this bipinnate leaf. And each of these pinnae contains between 10 and 30 pairs of leaflets. So that is 1 pinnae, or 1 primary division, of the bipinnate leaf of Lysiloma latisiliquum, the wild tamarind. The flower is aggregated in a head so that hundreds of individual flowers will form a powder puff, white, a little bit less than an inch in diameter. The fruits of the wild tamarind are a pod called a legume, which is similar to other members of this family, the pea family. And wild tamarind has a non-native sister species called Lysiloma sabacu, or sabacu, which differs in having a smaller number of leaflets per leaf. What is very distinctive about this, unlike Lysiloma latisiliquum with the smooth bark, the sabacu has peeling, shredding bark that comes off in large chunks. Here it is at Miami-Dade College Kendall campus parking lot. And there's the aspect of that tree from a distance. Another species students saw was Pinus elliottii, the slash pine. This pine, while it occurs all over Florida, is the main pine that you would see in interior lands in Florida, and it has a large reddish cone. Pinus elliottii has large plated bark. The leaves of Pinus elliottii, the slash pine, are very narrow and they are called needles in fascicles of 2. Sadly, this particular slash pine tree in central Florida had been grown in such a way as to allow it to engulf a cable. This is a very bad situation. Quercus virginiana is a very common landscape tree and a native species throughout Florida, the live oak. It has a large trunk and very large spreading branches. It can be quite majestic and is often a dominant tree in many of the hardwood hammocks. Quercus virginiana. The bark is ridged and furrowed. The fruit is an acorn, as with other species of the genus Quercus. Next species we saw is Simarouba glauca, paradise tree. It also has a compound leaf, as did 2 of the species we've seen already. This is compound only one time, and the upper side of the leaves, or leaflets really, is shiny, and the lower sides are grayish and glaucous, hence the name glauca, the paradise tree, and there are the fruits. Now we'll cover the palm family, of which there are 5 native species that we saw and another 5 that we did not see in Florida. The plants are radially symmetrical, stems generally unbranched, often solitary. The leaves are pleated and mostly compound. There are no secondary xylem elements. In other words, these are not technically trees. They do not have bark, and even the Florida native tree, which is the sable palm, is therefore not a tree. Palms are in the monocots, containing about 2,500 species worldwide, mostly in the tropics. Very useful plants, may be sometimes confused with another family that has radially symmetrical stems, the cycads. Those are not even flowering plants. First palm is Acoelorraphe wrightii, the paurotis palm. It's a clustering palm. Many stems come from the ground and are interconnected. Here you see the stems of paurotis palm tightly clustering from the ground with a bit of fiber surrounding them. The leaf of paurotis palm is palmately compound. This leaf has about 30 subdivisions, and they're very regular in plate-like appearance. The paurotis palm leaf stalk, called a petiole, has numerous spines or thorns running up and down. Other palms have spines on various parts as well. I like the appearance of the paurotis palm from a distance because it has this yellowish color, and you can see the bright orange of the inflorescences of the flowering structures. Another palm is Roystonea regia, the royal palm. It has a very stout grayish trunk, which is closely ringed, often swollen in the middle and swollen at the base. Its leaf is different from the other palms that we will see today. The leaf is like a feather. It's a pinnately compound leaf. At the top of the royal palm trunk is a green cylindrical structure called a crown shaft. It consists of the tightly clasping petioles of several leaves. Another native Florida palm that we saw is the sable palmetto, the sable palm, also called the cabbage palm. It has a roundish globular top, giving it a lollipop type appearance. Naturally, the petiole bases, sometimes called the boots, cling to the trunk unless they're artificially removed by people. They split as the trunk grows, so that's a really good distinctive characteristic of the sable palm. It looks like a lot of upside down V's or W's. And where the pinnae of the compound palmate palm frond come together, there's a structure which is the extension of the petiole or leaf stalk into the flat part of the leaf, and that's called a costa. So the sable palm is a costa palmate palm, unlike some others. The costa extends so far into the sable palm frond that it creates a bend or a sagging in the middle. There's a sable palm growing near the baseball fields on campus. And there's a group of sable palms in a residential landscape. This is not sable palm. It is a fan palm, and it does have a little bit of a costa, but the overall aspect of the fronds is more plate-like. And this is an exotic invasive that can sometimes be confused with sable palmetto. This is the Chinese fan palm. We'll cover that one later. Another fan palm is the Serenoa repens. The word repens means creeping. It is a saw palmetto, and it is a clustering palm that grows from the base. There's an individual at Mounts Botanical Garden in Palm Beach County. It, like the paurotis palm, has these spines on the leaf stalks. It also has a fruit here that is reportedly containing compounds helpful for prostatitis. Here is a saw palmetto in the foreground near some gopher tortoises. This is at the Miami-Dade College Kendall campus environmental center. One more and the last native plant species in this set is Thrinax radiata, or the Florida thatch palm. It's a very popular palm in landscaping. It is a purely palmate palm. It has no costa. The divisions of the frond are relatively wide, about 2 inches, so it's pretty distinctively different from the paurotis palm. Here in a close-up, I will show another structure of palms that's somewhat interesting. It's this little promontory that's coming out from the middle of the palmate frond. It's called a hastula. And there's a specimen at Fairchild Tropical Botanic Garden. So those are 11 species of Florida native plants, and to help you identify them, there are some characteristics that I've mentioned, and I'll review that briefly. Among these 11 species, if the plant has needle-like leaves, it is Pinus elliottii, or the slash pine. If the leaves are pleated, it's a palm, and we looked at 5 palms. The largest number were 4 of the fan palms, including 2 with armed petioles. The paurotis on the left underneath the word armed, and on the right underneath the word petiole is the saw palmetto. And the 2 unarmed fan palms that we saw were the sable palm on the left with that kind of curling costa palmate frond, and the Florida thatch palm with a fairly broad 2-inch wide penny. On the right are 4 species of dicotyledonous trees and 1 shrub. They include 2 that are compound only once. The one on the top is the Bursera simaruba, the gumbo limbo, and below it with the shiny leaves and also compound only once is the paradise tree, Simarouba glauca. To the right is a species that is bipinnate, that has 2 levels of division of the leaf, and that is, of course, Lysiloma latisiliquum, the wild tamarind. The 2 species that we saw today that have simple leaves that are not divided are the live oak, down below the word simple. You notice that the underside of the leaf is grayish and is very leathery, whereas the species on the right, with the, in this case, it's more of an obovate-shaped leaf, the kind of rounded tip, that is the cocoplum, Chrysobalanus, icaco. Well, thank you for your participation.